Today we're visiting the National World War I Museum and Memorial located in Kansas City, Missouri. It was opened in 1926 as the Liberty Memorial and designated by the U.S. Congress in 2004 as the country's official museum dedicated to World War I. You can see the admission rates. You can also pay for extra exhibits, as we did today. So in 2014, Congress added the designation as the country's official war memorial. A nonprofit organization manages it in cooperation with the Kansas City Board of Parks and Rec. So when you start, there's a film that gives a brief overview of the war, so that's a good place to start. And then you get right on into the museum. It's a spectacular museum. I'm not going to show you every detail. Like normal when I do these museum videos, I kind of want to show you maybe what the feel of it is walking through. Certainly a place to visit in person if you want to see all the details. You could spend hours and hours here. There's a great timeline there of the war in the early years as you start to explore around. The museum focuses on global events from the causes of the war before 1914 through the 1918 armistice to the 1919 Paris Peace Conference. The museum includes more than 350,000 items, making it one of the largest World War I collections in the entire world. Soon after World War I ended, a group of 40 prominent Kansas City residents formed the Liberty Memorial Association to create a memorial, which you saw as we walked up, to those who had served in the war. The museum has a lot of different items, obviously, like we were saying, but then they have these displays like trenches.
Now it is Christmas for the second time in this war.
So they had the groundbreaking in 1921. It was attended by over 200,000 people, including then Vice President Calvin Coolidge and representatives from Belgium, Great Britain, Italy, and France. There was a local veteran chosen to present flags to the commanders. His name was Harry S. Truman, who would later serve as president, obviously from 1945 to 1953. The finished monument was dedicated in 1926 by then President Coolidge. There's an example of a French trench in 1917. In 1961, it was the 40th anniversary. They had a large rededication ceremony on the memorial grounds, and over 15,000 people came to see former President Truman preside over the service. Some really fascinating things to look at. They organized it very well and have all kinds of facts and figures, as you can see. It was closed in 1994 due to safety concerns because aging had produced problems with the drainage and original construction. Local shopping malls voluntarily helped display part of the museum collection while the memorial was unavailable. Local, national, and international support provided $102 million, ultimately revealed in its 2006 reopening. What we're in is all in the main part of the museum, so when you pay your general admission, you'll see most of everything. There are a couple other places that will go that you pay a couple bucks extra for, but this is the air war part of the museum, and then they have the war at sea. And it's very well organized, very documented, detailed documentation of everything. Fascinating to read all of this info. And while most of the first part of the museum is about countries in Europe and their part in it, the United States joined the war later on, so obviously it gets into the United States part of the war, which makes a lot of sense since this is the United States World War I Museum. And I Knew some about World War One. I'm not an expert by any means, but it was interesting kind of learning how the United States came in towards the end of the war and wasn't fighting early on. Such a different time 110 years ago, and how the wars would have been organized and fought. Fascinating.
This was a war of artillery. Large, powerful guns fired shells weighing up to 1,700 pounds, destroying distant targets and littering the battlefield with shell craters and human bodies.
This is one of our newest exhibits. It's 16 more stories. It's the exact journal entries of those who took part in the war. Our life is a living death. What great sin are we being punished? Kill us, oh God, but free us from our pain.
Everything that TNT powder touches goes yellow. All the girls' faces were yellow all round their mouths. And everything they touched went yellow. Chairs, tables, everything. I was yellow. All over.
I stood in the trench, cutting into the earth with my pick. I saw that round my pick were human entrails. The dead man was very bad.
In the Pacific and in Africa, the Allies reassigned control of German colonies. They also redraw European empires into French and British-controlled countries and smaller independent states. But old ethnic rivalries undermine peace. Russia reels with the chaos of the Bolshevik Revolution. Britain's commitment to a Jewish national home in Palestine intensifies conflict in the Middle East.
If you visit, make sure to go downstairs from the main floor. So they have hundreds of items that are down here to check out behind glass. It's a smaller part of the museum for sure, but some very interesting things to check out. This is a special section of the museum dedicated to Paris, France during the war. Pay a couple extra dollars to go here, but I thought it was worth it. Very interesting to see all the history told from a French perspective. Take the elevator upstairs and we're heading outside. We're going to get a good view of the city here. And we're here at the Liberty Memorial, which was made a National Historic Landmark in 2006. There's 4 sculptures up here called the Guardian Spirits. They represent protectors of peace, each holding a sword named for virtue, honor, courage, patriotism, and sacrifice. The tower and the buildings are designed in the classical Egyptian revival architectural style with a limestone exterior.
Just to let you know, I'm going to let you off on a level where there are 45 steps between you and the viewing area.
And just off the side, in a different building by the memorial, is an amazing room, which I was the only person in there. And so maybe this is something that people aren't aware that it's there. You see initially you see some amazing artwork kind of high up on the walls. And this building was completed near the original time of the museum, so these paintings are about 100 years old, as next year will be the 100th anniversary of when it opened. 1921 was when it started construction. But what I really liked is they had all these old maps, and obviously that's a map of the United States, but then they had maps of the different offensives, and these were all drawn by artists when the museum opened. There's probably 15 or 20 of these on the walls. And you can stand here and check out not only the detail of the battles, but how amazingly detailed they were put together by the artists. And that's our short tour of the National World War I Museum and Memorial in Kansas City, Missouri. Hope you enjoyed checking it out. This is just a glimpse of the museum. Like I said, definitely want to see it in person for the full effect.